Idiot.
He didn't record it.
Didn't record.
He didn't hit record, Scott. Are you joking? Are you
God
kidding?
almighty. I'm an
He got
idiot.
so nervous he didn't hit record.
Taylor, I'm not that big of a star, son. Just hit record and let's do this.
Scott Turner, it's good to have you with us today. How's it going?
It's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
And Jansen, I assume you're still doing good?
I'm here, buddy. Yes, sir. What's up, guys?
Good. Scott, thanks for being with us today, for real. And thanks for bearing with us through these technical difficulties. And we're good now. But I want to start off with your hunting background. So how long have you been hunting? Is it something that you grew up doing since you were a kid? Who introduced you to the outdoors?
We've been... I grew up with about 5 other boys on my dead-end road with pellet guns since we were probably 7, 8 years old, killing every bird in the neighborhood. And from there, I guess it grew into, we had peanut field behind us. We'd start dove shooting, after school, we'd go out there and shoot and hit rabbits. And then that led to squirrels, getting up early and going and sitting squirrel hunting. My dad was from North Georgia. He's not with us anymore, but they didn't have deer up there when he was growing up. He was born in 35, I think, something like that. They hunted squirrels, rabbits. And so when we were down here, he really, deer hunting was really not even brought up till I was in probably 15, 16. But he was a good rabbit shooter. He loved rabbit dogs, and he taught me that. And really around Dothan, there wasn't a lot of deer either. You had to drive, Troy, or you had to go up around Barber County just to see deer back then. And this was in the late 70s, early 80s. And, I started dating this old gal. Her daddy was a deer hunter. And, we dated about 3 years. I mean, he was good. We did man drives and still hunting, more man drives than anything. Now I know why I went. I was a dog, and you got to bring young boys to get through them briars and have bark like dogs. And you don't, back then you thought, well, I'm part of the team, but really you're a driving dog. Every now and then they'd put you in a good spot and do it. In fact, I probably dated her a year longer because season was coming around. And boy, I hated losing him. He was something else. He was real well known, and he taught me a lot. And then, my dad tried to take me and my uncles, and they really just didn't. I can remember when I was a little kid, 11, 12, we'd sit on the ground up here in Headland somewhere. I'm just not sure they knew what they were doing either, but they were trying to make me happy. And that's, they knew I wanted to go. And back then there wasn't videos. There really wasn't. This is even before, big buck, real tree tapes came out. This was back before really nobody knew much about it. If somebody didn't pass it on to you, you just didn't know how to do it. And you couldn't look, there was no internet. You couldn't look it up. I'm telling my age here, but, so I just it became after that. And after, my experience, I was about 17, just some friends I hung out with. We started going up, around Newton. We had some property up there. Man let us hunt. We just kind of slowly figured it out. I killed my first one around 17, and just kind of got hooked on it. And then, really, I'm not sure I killed anything else. So I was probably around 19 or 20. Went to college up in Troy, started hunting in Ayrton, Alabama. They ran dogs, had beagles, a lot of dog running. A lot of times when you dog running, it's not about, whenever you talk about killing deer, it's like, how many y'all kill? It's always a y'all. We're a group, and it's not really the way we hunt now. Now it's me in the woods, and you guys probably do the same thing. But back then it was a group, and if you killed 2 deer, well, all 8 of y'all killed 2 deer. Because it's a team thing, and then you spend all day hunting the dogs because you didn't have shot callers back then. You had to call them by their name. Big boy. You holler out, and golly, them dogs run everywhere. You spend all day hunting dogs. So you might get 2 drives out of a whole day with dogs back then. These were slow dogs. These were beagle walkers. They weren't really moving fast as some of them other dogs. Some of them regular beagles too. And they were just slow. But anyway, I did that. And then I had a boy, man from Gaston, Alabama was down there hunting with us. And I'm still trying to learn everything I can learn, and still hunting, still hadn't really kicked in. And when I did kill when I was a little younger, it was more of an accident. I don't really think I knew what I did right. I just know I dropped her. But it was afternoon and we weren't going to run dogs again. And it was a peanut field. And out in the middle of it was a finger came out of the swamp and ran all the way up to the middle of the peanut field about halfway. And, it was cut over and it was just, you couldn't walk through it. It was so thick. And of course I never thought about going in there. So, and he said, Scott, he goes, take my stand. He had one of those old stands that were so comfortable and heavy. You could lean back in it, man. It'd put you to sleep in a heartbeat. I can't remember the name of it, but he let me borrow it. And he said, you see that tree out there in the middle? There was like one tree in the very middle. He goes, you go get up in that tree and you stay there till after dark. And that's the first time I heard anybody say after dark. That didn't make any sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out there and I climbed up that tree and I actually took a little nap, I think, in that thing as it got later. It was cold. It was cold, and can't think of the name of that stand to save my life. They used to be real famous. Y'all probably heard them before.
Was it a Summit?
No. This is before Summit.
Was
this
it an old
tree
man?
lounge? Like a tree lounge.
Tree lounge.
Tree lounge?
Okay.
I know what you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, it was square tubing, buddy. There was no teeth dividing the tree. It was all, you had to put your weight way out there on the end to make it put force on the tree. If you did wrong, it'd slip a few, feet on you because there was no straps holding it up there. There was no safety harness. It was just a seat you had to sit in. And, but once you got in it and your feet there was a bar down there, you put your feet on, boy, it was comfortable. But anyway, I got sidetracked there. But I remember waking up. It was just a short nap. You know how it is when you're cold and you got your bogging on and everything. And I heard something and I looked down and a deer walked under my tree. And I guess I was at like a fork, like a 4-way stop. And I'd never seen deer that close to me in my life. They were like 15 feet up probably. And they were right under my tree and they were just walking through this. They were just traveling, doing their thing. And I had running dogs. You'd never see that. And, it wasn't like that before when I sat in a tree. It was more of a ladder stand the first time. And it was open. You could see, but here it was so thick you couldn't see. And if you got on the ground, it was over your head. You couldn't even see. Getting out of there was like going through a real rabbit trail just to bust out into the field. But it was amazing to see deer just moving like deer move and not knowing I was sitting right above them. And I killed a little cowhorn spike that night. I shot him. And, but that opened my eyes right there to how deer move. Like I said, there wasn't anybody to teach you stuff back then. And to think that I never would have thought they'd even be in that thick stuff. It was too thick, So anyway, that's kind of how my early years got going. I hunted on from then. I went to service, went overseas, came back, hunted more around Ayrton, some in Barber County Wildlife Management, stuff like that. Never killed a real massive deer. I mean, 3-year-old is mainly what we kill, 8 points. And, I'm not the best hunter by no means. I love to hunt and I try to learn all I can. And
Hey, that sounds like me.
I think that's the majority of us,
That's right. Yeah.
I've been hunting the same property now out around, Webb, Alabama. We got some friends that had 500 acres and about 150 of it is wooded creek, and my family hunts out there and, and years of hunting out there, I've gotten better and better. And we've got a few big bucks out there that I've tried my best to get. And some of them pretty nice, but mainly it's just 3-year-olds. Every now and then a 4 if we get lucky, but they're usually down here. They're not, you could spend all year chasing a 125 third point deer,
Yeah.
But then you go an hour north of Barber County and you're in 140 land. Or bigger. So that.
Hey, you really made me think about my childhood when you're starting out. You said that kind of grew up shooting pellet guns, shooting birds and squirrels.
Yeah.
That was, man, that's one of my core memories from being a kid and that's one of the ways that me and Jansen kind of bonded in high school. Even in high school, we lived in the city, so we were kind of stuck to pellet guns.
Yeah, that's right.
But me and Jansen and another guy, man, we kept the pellet business going there for a little while, or it felt like we did. But that's good times. Well, I want to know the origin of KillDrift. So tell me about your product, and I kind of want to know how you came up with this idea. Was there a problem you were trying to solve, or tell me about it?
Yeah, I got 4 daughters. You want to know my? No, they're all blessings. Those are sweet girls. In fact, you know one of them. You know how much of a blessing they are.
Yeah.
God, I love them. Bless their hearts. I didn't have what I always kid that God was paying me back for how I treated women when I was younger, and so now I'm trying to learn how to treat them. They're sweet as they can be, and I love them to death. So I got, like I said, no boys, 4 girls. Kaylin Moldish, which you know and work with, she actually killed one with Andrew that she's married to now when she was dating him. But Claire, her sister, really, really liked to hunt. And then I had Polly was a couple years younger than her, and Polly was kind of into it a little bit. I mean, my philosophy has always been my daughters don't have to be deer hunters; they just know how to have to do it. So, and if they do it and they learn how to respect the outdoors and animals and what we're doing, my theory was they would marry a man that kind of had the same beliefs as dad. With God and outdoors and it's so far it's happened. It's been that way. So that's my plan worked. I didn't get hunting. I got hunting buddies, but you know, girls generally hunt until they kill something, and then they get on with their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't get the thirst for killing like we do. And Bella, back then she was 6, 7. So I was taking Claire and I was taking Bella. I tried not to be too long winded. And girls, I had a problem with them getting busted so much, you know, sitting in a ladder stand in the perfect place. Sometimes the wind's right, sometimes it swirls. And girls have smells. You know, they have shampoos, conditioners, skin lotions. Even at a young age, I think Belle was probably spraying. And you know, they just don't let you put cover scent on them like you would yourself. Daddy quit, don't spray, it's getting in my eyes, you know, and you got like one Saturday with them. They're not going all weekend with you. You got an afternoon on a Saturday if you're lucky to take them between everything else they got going on. And we had too many busts and not enough success. And I was living in a neighborhood. I'm out here in Rehoboth, Alabama. And it was a nice little neighborhood, not real crowded. And it was kind of country, peanut fields behind the houses and stuff like that. And I was playing around. I had some taxidermy scents and things like that. I'm just playing around. Trying to figure out, do I need a spray bottle? What do I got to do to help my daughter kill the bird? It wasn't because I was a deer hunting genius, you know. I'm just thinking, God, there's got to be a better way. And then, you know, they had that old dirt wafer HSC Wildlife Research puts out. You know, I said, well, what if we sprayed some kind of, he's probably got one behind him, Jansen does there. I'm thinking, what if I spray, you know, what if I had like white oak acorn or something good like that? Or how could I make something strong enough? You know, do they have to hang it on or whatever? And I looked over and I saw my thermocell and I said, we've all thought about this. Putting, you know, every guy I know is talking about putting deer pee on something and shoving it in a thermocell, you know, and I was like, heat. Okay, let's see what we can do. So anyway, I'm going to cut the story a little short there because it was a long process. A little bit of chemistry background, not a lot, and a lot of learning, a lot of reading. And I finally came up with a really absorbent, biodegradable pad. And I started soaking it, and you had to figure out how long to soak it and stuff. And back then I was using other stuff, other people's scents. Since I bought it, taxidermy, all kind of stuff. And I was just trying to figure out, you know, what kind of base it's got to have. And you're dealing with active ingredients and inactive ingredients, and it gets a little complicated. So when you start heating it up, I remember the first time I actually stuck one of our pads, and didn't look like it does now, but I stuck it in the thermocell, turned it on, the heat was coming out. I was like, man, that's okay. That smells good. In about 20 minutes, it dried out. I was like, well, that didn't last long. This ain't gonna work, you know. So I had to figure out how do I make it let the scent off, and not all at one time, but it's got to do it in layers. And that's where that active and inactive ingredients. That's what people ask me all the time. Do you sell these pads blank? I'm like, no. And you couldn't get it to work if you wanted to, maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but then it's going to go away and dry out. So I got past that. added some stuff to it. I'm in the farming business a little bit, so I know a little bit about chemicals and surfactants, things like that. So anyway, let me jump to a real cool story. So I'm still at the beginning there, and acorn, actually it was acorn, not white oak. It was my first scent, and we had a double car garage, and the garage has got like 2 window panes with mini blinds. You know, it was a nice little house out there in that little neighborhood. And so I'm burning one to see how long it'll last. I used to test over and over and had to, you know, we document every time we'd burn it, how long this would last. If I added more of this, would it last long? So it went on and on. So one day we had some boxes in the garage, and I had one of them little mini college refrigerators and boxes on it. And I just laid it up top there and was letting it go. And I knew I had time to go to the store. And my wife, Donna, she jumped in the truck with me, and we ran to the store. I had to get something. Now, I live, it's kind of a round street. There's some trees and a farm across the street behind that house. So I'm probably 80 yards, maybe 100 yards from the peanut field, and a little bit of pines, and there's some woods down there. There's a house behind me. So there's no trees there. I got a few trees behind me, but there ain't no animals. Nothing. So I go to the store, and we come back, and my mini blinds are jumping. And I'm like, we got a rat in the garage. I don't know what got in there. We left the garage door open. Something got in there. And so I pulled up, and it was still jumping around, and I pulled the blind, and dang squirrel jumped out. And he just ran out of the garage, ran across the road behind the other house, went all the way back where he came from. And I looked at my wife. I said, I think I got something. We're going to be great squirrel hunters. I got something that brings them in. And, but all seriousness, we came up. I had something that smelled like something. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It smelled like something an animal would like. And that's where it kind of all, at first it was cover scent, but then I found out we might be able to attract them with some of this stuff. And deer are curious animals. And if it's food or sex oriented, you can play with her nose a little bit.
Right.
And, so that kind of grew on. And, you know, when we first got in business, I think in 19, our first bunch of pads, they were last about, I think I had them at 3 hours in a thermocell. And then thermocell, we were actually on a TV show, Drop Zone TV on Outdoor Channel. We were the first ones to ever do that. And we were on that show, and Thermacell was also a sponsor of that show. And out of nowhere, Thermacell shut down all the filming and said, you can't release any filming of showing their product and our product. It was a big stink. We didn't know what to do. And then we did know what to do, because I got a letter from their attorney from Chicago that told us to cease and desist, and they didn't want us in business. So that kind of led on to other products that we got now. And we talk about it, you know, I'm sure you got questions about that, but that's kind of how I found out we had something. And we went with, I think, acorn, sweet corn, and I think persimmon was my first 3. I think we did just plain.
Is there a vanilla one that you have?
There is now. We started last year. It's a really good one. And, you know, people always ask, well, you always say food and sex stuff, because that's what all our stuff is. But vanilla is not. I said, well, not vanilla. Vanilla is food, but we also come out with dirt. I got ahead of myself. And I was like, well, dirt's also kind of in that food class, because when you plow a field, you know, deer are going to be in that field that night. Now, they're not going out there because you're plowing. They're going out there because roots got turned over. Stuff's in that field that they know is food. It kind of, you know, they know if they live around farms and stuff. I said, so we added that one too. But yeah, that vanilla is a real good one. And anyway, so that little squirrel story, I know is not real important. It was important to me because it was the first time we ever hit a mark dealing with an animal. Yeah. Now, and you want me to keep going? I can tell you what we have the farm we hunt on. We have like a test field, and we have a ground blind. It's one of the little camos you wrap around. It's about $18 blind. I mean, we don't put a lot of money in this thing. We're sitting there on 2 church chairs, you know, fold out chairs and a police plywood. But the deer bed down across the fence on the other property over there, and we kind of know their route. You know, there's a group of does come out and they'll jump the fence and they'll feed there in that little rye field. He puts a cover crop down after peanuts. And we'll sit out there, and I'll take the kids and let them sit there, you know, and watch it. So we started burning our, we were using the mosquito devices and burning our thing. And we started watching the deer come out, and when the wind it'd be blowing their direction, and you could see when they'd hit that funnel. And this is just with the the acorn, and now we got white oak acorn and things like that. And we've tested them all the same way. And you could watch Nanny, lift her head, stretch that neck, and she'd lick that nose, and she was okay. So she didn't smell us, and we're sitting right there too. And there's a lot of controversy, about can't fool deer and all that, but deer have a sensory nerve in their nose, and and the same with canines. I've heard some real smart men talk about it, that if you hit it with the right stuff and it's certain strength and all that, you can kind of numb other scents coming in behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we do that. And I think another thing is the way we're burning these pads and the chemicals I have in them, because they're synthetic, which more states are going to a synthetic anyway. They're getting, but the diseases out there, they like that better. But we're dealing with molecules now. And now I'm like, wow, really, science wasn't my best class, but now I'm studying every time I can on molecules. And so what we're doing is when it's hitting the deer, especially at a distance, it's so sparse. It's just, they're just picking up a little bit here and there of it. And it's not like, I tell people, you ever seen like a little buck or something will walk up and he'll smell dopey out of nowhere. Somebody sprayed it down. And he kind of jumps, spooks. It wasn't supposed to be there, where'd it come from? And we kind of go around that. We it kind of hits them. She picks up on it. It's not that big of a deal, but we've actually seen them when they're feeding out there, and they'll actually sometimes turn our way. They're not, they're still just taking their time, but the molecules get heavier the closer they get, and they're already used to it. This is great. This goes against everything. Now we're not even worried about the wind anymore. We want this stuff. We know it's covering us, and we're actually baiting them with our molecules. And so we're sitting there. I'm with Bella, my youngest, and she's sitting there in the chair. Of course, about now she's got her little orange bottom pull over her face, and she's asleep, laying back in the chair. And she does that a lot when we hunt. And I'm watching. I think back then it was a couple does and maybe a little spike was with them out in the field. And we're like, okay, we've got a cover scent. We're good. We can hunt. And our blind is at the edge of the field, so there's woods behind us. But there's like an old logging trail growed up, probably another 30 yards back there behind us. And we're sitting there looking out in the field. And I don't know, for some reason, this is the second mark. First one was a squirrel. So I'm sitting there and I look over at Bella, and something catches my eye, and you can see through these little blinds we got up, and they only go up to about your neck. So our heads are almost sticking out. They're real cheap. And there's a doe has slipped up behind us because the wind swirled a little bit, blowing this way, and then sometimes it goes behind us. And she was pushing her nose up against our blind, and we're sitting right there in the blind. And I was like, my gosh, and dumb me, I reached down to get my phone. I just want a picture of this. And of course she heard me, and she like broke down the trees and was scared Bella to death, and that deer run off and all that. But for her to come up within a foot of my arm or my back and push against that blind when it was blowing, and I know we're not scent thief. We're not spraying nothing really on us. I might have back then used a little boot spray or something. But that was with a, acorn, or I can't remember what, it might have been sweet corn. And, a cover scent was actually attracting. And so we kind of crossed the bridge there. We still labeled as a cover scent because you can't convince a hunter that apple or that sweet corn or acorn is going to bring the deer into you. And it don't always happen, but they're curious animals. And the more we started trying it, we saw how curious they really were. And sometimes it really works in your favor.
So if I can just kind of piggyback off of, you telling that story, it's a good opportunity for me to kind of piggyback off of that and share my experience with KillDrift. And I told you the story. It was probably a year ago when we last talked. And so my plan when I was using it was I was walking in, and the spot that I'm getting to is at the back of the property. And my plan, the wind is blowing straight toward where I'm wanting to go hunt. So I go in at the very front of the property, and my plan is to J hook around. And I follow the property line all the way at the edge as far as I could. And then I come in from the backside, and I'm hunting where I want to, and my wind's good. But I thought this is a perfect opportunity to try this out because it was the first time using it. And I shared with you also that like I'm usually very skeptical of scent products. And anyway, but I clip it on my backpack and it's heating up and we're walking in and I'm taking my time getting there just like I would any normal hunting situation. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. Okay. My wind is blowing straight in front of me. And I walk up on this bedded deer and it's a young doe. And I remember thinking, what do I do? And now looking back, I don't know if that deer smelled me or not, but it seemed very unaware that I was there. Okay. Well, I stand there and I let it mosey on off. And this is the part where like, I know the KillDrift had something to do with this. I walk on and I can see a deer walking in the distance and I'm thinking, I am within their bedding area. I need to sit down and just be still for a little bit and see what happens. Okay. I am sitting at the base of a tree with my gun in my lap and the wind is blowing. At this point, I'm pretty much in the spot that I want to be. I'm not on what I consider the X, but I'm in the area that I wanted to be. And the wind is blowing behind me. KillDrift is still on. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. I had no idea anything was sneaking up behind me. And all of a sudden, I go to shift because my butt was going to sleep. And I hear a deer blow, and it was gone. And that joker snuck up behind me, and a very similar story to what you just told. And at that moment, I was kind of thinking, what in the world just happened? And I really believe that deer was smelling, was curious, and then all of a sudden, there's a human there. And then I moved at the worst time, and it, got scared. But
Not sure.
I feel like that story backs yours up good.
I didn't know if you'd shared that with me or not. That's good to hear. I did not know. Maybe you did, and I just forgot. But that's neat.
Well, it's been
used it and seen it.
It's been a year, so
yeah,
it's okay if you forgot.
and you were using a Thermacell, I guess, probably, or
yes, sir. I was using a Thermacell, and the reason I asked if you had a vanilla scent was, again, it was a year ago, or maybe a year and a half. I forget anyway, but it had a sweet smell to it. And do you have a scent that's like Khmer or some kind of common something? One of those is ringing a bell.
I have a deer dander. Smells like a bed.
That was it.
I'll calm them down. All the good names were taken when we started coming out with them, so we had to get creative. Calm them down is our deer dander, and then come get her is our doe pea.
I like it.
And then we've got a dorsal gland now called Buck Nasty, and they're really strong. And now we've got, I don't know if you guys have seen the Drifter. It's a good chance for me to advertise it. Battery operated. Ahead. You can charge your cell phone with it. You're not using butane anymore. It's portable. Put in like a magazine and a gun, and you got 3 levels of heat. So you go low, medium, and high. With a Thermacell, we can only burn on high. So I'm in Illinois, and I'm in a tree, and I'm filming, and I got a bedding area about 30 yards from me. I had 2 does come out. We started hunting Wayne County about 3 years ago, and these are big does. God, I love Illinois. Anyway, these does come out, and the first one, and I've got a Thermacell on the ground going because at the time we're thinking more's better. And they love our deer dander, and we've already had luck with it. And I'm burning one on the ground, and I'm up a tree, and I got the prototype Drifter. This is back before we started really putting them out. And that deer turned, and most folks won't tell you this, about their product, but I'll tell you, she turned and looked at me. Now, she didn't see me, but she knew where it was coming from. She started stomping that foot, man. She was stomping. Now, the one behind her wasn't doing nothing, just standing there. And then she blew 8 times. I'm like, holy crap, what is she doing? She didn't run. Now I'm 30 yards, maybe a little less than 30 yards from her. She is blowing up a storm. And then she just stops. And she turns around, and they both just walk right back in bed in there as calm as they can be. And, I call him partner Scott. He lives up Barber County. We've been buddies for 30 years. I'm like, you ain't gonna believe this, man. We got to look at this, see what's going on here. And what we've figured, and it makes the most sense, and we were telling, and we communicate through these smells. That's how deer communicate anyway. And, we just don't speak their language, but you don't have to be a genius to figure out that our product smells like deer hair. And we were sending so much over there. We're telling her there's probably 20 deer laying here 30 yards from you. I mean, that's all that made sense. And if you ever hunt Illinois, it's like all corn and there's like a 10-acre block. And you can almost see from one end of the block to the other. The trees, big trees. It's not thick like it is down here. And she knows every deer in that block, and something wasn't right. She didn't pick me up. So that made me feel good. Down here, you would have seen them a white tail and they've been gone.
Yeah.
They just calmly went back in the bed there. And that's when we came out with this device. I said, we've got to have a low, because sometimes you need to ease a little scent in there. And sometimes you want to blow them out with some dopey out in the field. So we got the low, medium, and high. And then we actually put a turkey mode on this one for mosquitoes, but that's another thing we added on.
Like that. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that was going to be one of my questions is what is the difference in running it on low, medium, and high? So I'm glad you said that. I do have a question for you. How long you said that when, just this quick question, real quick. You said that when you were first starting out that those scent pads that you originally were making they lasted for about 20 minutes. How long does a pad last now? And can you reuse it? Say you have a short hunt.
Now,
can you reuse it?
Oh yeah. Our bags have little zippers on them, kind of. You push together plastic, seal them back up. They call them zippers. But you can. If you burn on low, you can burn a pad for 7 hours now. And if you're on high, you can get 4 hours. And then there's a medium, which is roughly around 5.5 hours, 6 hours. Now, all that's the one thing about this device is it's patented for cold weather use. It's a circuit board heater, so it's not a fire. It's more like an oven, and it'll work down at 5-degree weather. So now we take these up north when we go, and I mean some in November, end of November, sometimes 12 degrees in Illinois, and I can burn a dopey pad, and it's incredible. What we've seen happen up there and how far it goes. You might lose a few minutes because batteries in cold weather want to release all their energy, and our patent's based on controlling that energy. So it depends on the ambient temperature you're in. In Alabama, sometimes you get more than a lot of time because it's just usually not that cold outside. But when you start getting around 20, 18 degrees, on 4 hours, you might lose 5 or 6 minutes, something like that. It's not a lot, but it does set it back just a little bit, But I haven't hunted in 5 degrees, but we have had it in the freezer working at 5 degrees. And I hope I don't ever have to hunt in 5 degrees. But,
hey, I'm telling you right now, if it gets down to 5 degrees, I'm not going to be there.
I about don't want to hunt if it ain't like between 42 and 48. That's about fine for me.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
I've never used the KillDrift, so I was extremely excited to get on here and get you to explain it to me, because Taylor actually shared that story about the deer coming up behind him with me the day it happened. He said, man, I really think that it had something to do with this KillDrift. I said, well, there may be something to it. I said, so anyways, Taylor's been using it for a little while, and I've never gotten into, and I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've killed some good deer, I guess you could say, down here, but I've never been one of them that I just play the wind best I can, but I've never been one of them that sprays or uses scents or anything like that much. I have lately, since I've gotten big into the bow hunting and all, in the past 3 or 4 years. That's just about all I do now. But since I got into bow hunting, I started putting some dead downwind on and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I really don't know how good it helps. I've still been, and I'm not trying to cut anybody's stuff down. I've still been blown out of the tree using some of that stuff. So you still have to play that wind. But I'm 100% behind you on deer or curious animals. I was talking about that with a guy, matter of fact, the other day. I just set a camera out where I'm hopefully gonna knock one down this year. Last year I missed one twice, and he was a stud. But anyways, at that same spot, I just put a camera out, and I put some rice bran. And that's another thing I had never messed with before. I usually pour just your good old fashioned corn out and I let it ride. Because I usually try to set on the trails and things like that. I try to do things like that. So I just use your good old fashioned corn. But this year I put out rice bran. And the day I put it out, if I'm lying, I'm dying. The day I put it out around 9 o'clock that morning. That afternoon, I had 2 shooter bucks come into that rice bran that afternoon. Yeah, and I fully believe that was one, they were curious. They smelt that. They winded it. They smelled it. They said, that's something new, smells like food. I'm going to it. So they went to it. So when you said that they're curious animals, and that is not necessarily, y'all don't call it an attractant, but it definitely is, due to the fact that it smells like food. They're curious animals, and I can 100% get behind what you're talking about. When they win that, they could get curious, and it could stop them. If nothing else, it could even bring them to you. And like you said, I don't know if it's, I've never dove deep into the science of, the nostrils of a deer or anything, but it's very interesting that you mentioned that a while ago, about the numbing. But I also, you can't help but think too, if you're thinking logically, um, even if they can smell a hint of you, just a hint of you, but that smells better than you. Sometimes you want something a little more than what the danger, I guess you could say, is behind it. You know what I mean? So that that helps as well. So I do 100% agree with you on all that, and also I plan on using KillDrift this year and trying it out. So I'm not I don't want nobody to think I was against it. I just never have been that guy until Taylor started telling me all this, and I've seen it on all the local bow shops and things like that. And he started talking about wanting to talk to you on a podcast, and I said, well, I'm gonna have to try this stuff out. So this year I am gonna try it out. So I'll definitely come back with a
I hope so.
hopefully with a story.
It's been an uphill journey. I mean, me and my partner's name's Scott too. Scott Deal. He's from Eufaula. We've always hunted the wind. I mean, and I say that, but then I've used everything in the store too over my 40 years of hunting, everything off the shelf. And we weren't looking to get in business. I got other things to do. I got a good job. My wife teaches school, but it made hunting a little bit easier especially for the kids, for the folks that aren't as diehard as we are. We're 5%. The other 95% don't know how to hunt the wind. They just know how to get from the truck to the ladder stand.
That's right. And I'll tell you this real quick is your product also helps with the weekend warriors when somebody has a full-time job and can't get out and they can't wait for that day when the wind is perfect. It can give them an advantage to get out there and get in the woods and still have hopefully some good luck.
Absolutely. They've got a weekend to hunt. They got one field, one ladder stand in that corner back over there. They can't help the wind. And
that's right.
This has made if you'll keep this part, you ain't gonna believe, Jansen. I ain't been busted in 3 years. All right.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I wanted to hear.
That's big words right there. And I tell people at the show too. And I tell them this because I talk with guys like you, they're great guys because I used to be like y'all. And that's the hardest thing in the world to do because, nobody wants to believe there's anything that's any different than anything that's ever been out there. And this is different. And we're slowly, one by one, converting people over going, oh, this is the real deal. The molecules are the real deal. You can't, you take that neutralizer and you spray yourself. I tell people, okay, that spray's like a shower head in your shower and water's coming out of each one of them holes. How much of your body's not actually getting hit until the water runs down it? So when you're spraying that bottle on you, buddy, you probably ain't spraying half your body. And I know I can't reach my back or my backside, but it's a habit we go through, spraying things and running around here. But when I turn the drifter on at the truck on the tailgate and it's on high and it starts kicking out those molecules while I'm getting my stuff together and getting my harness on, getting my bag ready, I tell you, there's a reason they use mustard gas and more. Gas covers everything. Tear gas covers everything.
That's right.
And this stuff just covers you. You could actually leave your drifter at the truck after you've stood by it, and you'll smell like that pretty much your whole hunt. So it's kind of a two-phase thing there. So when we get this all over us, I leave it on and stick it in my backpack, and I start walking down the trail toward my stand. The last 3 years, we really started keeping up. We jumped more deer bedded, especially we're going in the mornings. And we're not big about getting there at 4:30. We're more like almost 7 sometimes. We're lazy hunters. But anyway, we know our deer and we know where they're at. So
Yeah.
we jump more deer bedded down by our trails, because usually my does will feed in the field or they'll do whatever they're doing, and they'll come off the field and they'll bed down 30 or so yards off for the first couple hours of the morning. And they'll stay there for an hour or two bed, and they'll get up, and then they'll work their way down the creek and go to another bedding area. We used to didn't jump nothing. You used to just walk to the stand, quiet as it could be. Now, I don't know how many deer were blowing, and you don't hear them because you got a flashlight, or it might be dark still, or you got your backpack, or you're making noise. You know what it is, but didn't hear them. But now it's like jumping up a covey of quail sometimes. You come around the corner until they see you or hear you. They're okay with the smell. They smell you coming, whichever way the wind's blowing. It's carrying this stuff. It's strong, but they don't really get up and move till. And that was a big thing. They were like, that's crazy. So when I'm telling people, it's not just a device to molecules. It's got to cover you, so you're covered. So you bought your bottle. This is your bottle in my device, and now this thing is constantly. It's not a mister. It's constantly burning and putting it out, just continuous. There's no stopping and then starting and all that. And this is gonna blow your mind. Last year I had a 9. Well, it was a young 8. I didn't kill him, but I was right off the trail. I had been watching this little spike chase this little doe, and it was like rabbits. I mean, they were going back and forth. I was in the right spot. I could hardly see them. They were moving so fast. And he was dogging her because I was down off the thick field, and I was down towards the bottom. And you can kind of see a little better down there. And then here come that 8-point off the hill there, and he's running down. He knew she was hot, and he worked his way down. He was going to run that old spike off, and he come right on their trail. They had just went by, and he was just kind of trotting. He got down there, and that sucker stopped and walked right up probably 15 yards and stood under my tree. He let her go for a minute, and I had my deer pee burning. It was hanging about 6 feet off the ground, and he just stood there and just had his head up, just taking it all in. And I was like, this is something else, right? I ain't never seen Tanks Code Blue. Nobody do nothing like that. And I was like, this is insane. And he stood there probably 4 minutes, and then he just went on his way, and we've seen stuff like that a lot. I've watched him come in and stand on the other side of the field 100 yards away and just stand there and look when that wind blows the right way at them, and they're just looking for it. And they don't come running to me sometimes, but we get their attention from a longer distance. I think that's a plus, because there was 115 yards to the grass on the other side of the field, and he come out of the woods. So there, might have went another 20, 30 yards, and the woods pulled him out to the edge of the field. So that don't happen with anything. So I think our reach is a lot farther, and it's stronger the closer they get, and it just kind of all works together.
Right.
And in the food sense, they don't always attract. I mean, there's days I sit and don't see nothing. Hunting's hunting. Some days deer ain't moving. But every now and then, I'll watch old doe or a young buck come up, and they'll actually, if I'm hanging it a few feet off the ground, and they'll actually tap it with their head. They'll get right up there on that thing, and they just tap it. You're like, look at that.
That's right.
I used to put out a thing. I'd give you $500 to be video of them doing that, because I've seen it 5 times, and I ain't ever had a video camera with me. But that's excellent advertisement right there. They don't spook.
Absolutely.
They ain't spooking, so that's good.
Another thing that kind of common sense and kind of impresses me with y'all's product is, a lot of people will go out and put tinks on a limb, and they'll hang something. And a lot of the times I've seen guys where they don't go down or either they'll put it out on the ground, and that smell lingers for a while, and it continues to always have a smell there. Y'all's product, if you hang it, you have to go get it, or either like if you hang it, just above the ground or whatever, or if you have it around you, it always keeps that fresh scent. And when you're gone, it eventually leaves as well. And it's almost a fresh scent every time you go.
That's right.
Rather than putting tinks out in the same spot you walk down your trail every day that you hunt that spot during January or whenever your rut is, you're throwing tinks out, and they eventually say, I've smelt that before, or I've smelt that for the past week.
That's right.
And now it's a little stronger than it was, but yours is a constant fresh smell every time you go back out. They smell that while you're there, and then when you leave, they don't smell it anymore. Then they go back, or you go back, and they smell that again. So it's almost a constant, like a fresh start over every time.
Yep, you're right. I didn't really think about it. You're right there.
I want to ask this question: is there so I know this product, and you go to different expo shows and promote your product there as well. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of different stories. You've probably experienced a lot of different stories with people using the KillDrift. I want to know, what is your favorite story that you have heard from someone or you where the KillDrift was being used?
Well, I remember when we first started going and nobody knew about it. Nobody had a story, and that was tough sell, brother. Now when we go to Birmingham and Montgomery and Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's kind of a grassroots thing. This guy's got it. He told his buddy. The biggest seller I got, I'll get the other part, is in Eufaula, Alabama, a little feed store, Bennett's. I'll give them a shout out. They got a nice little sport goods section there. And she sold, oh man, like 3 times what everybody else sold last year. She kept wanting to reorder. I finally had to tell her I ain't got no more. Because a lot of people would come up from Florida and hunt up here, and they'd go by and get one, and they go to hunting camp and they do something with it. And their buddies, what do you got? What are you using? And man, and then I'd get a lot of orders from Florida after they go back home. People start ordering online and everything. And but now when I go to a show, and I take Bella that was 7 back then is now beautiful 16. And she works the shows with me a little bit. And Mama comes up there sometimes and partner. And she's getting she's seeing what all the fuss is, because we'll actually be talking to somebody and we try to educate hunters when they stop. We're not really, I don't care if they buy or not from me, because I want them to buy from dealers. Our goal is to be in every store in the country. That we want to break into the scent business on the shelf. And that's hard to do, because there's 3 or 4 that got locked up. They've had locked up for the last 20 years, and somebody else will walk up and they'll actually start talking to the person thinking about it, and they'll do the selling for me. And we just sit back and watch, and they'll start getting their phone out and they'll start showing the buck and let me show you. And I was using this column down right here. And it just makes you feel so good to have people come and do that. Nobody, cool. I ain't never had nobody complain. And then we've been hitting the shows 3 years now, pretty solid. Nobody's ever come up there and complained. And that's unheard of. I mean, our, I'm not patting myself on the back, but our reviews, if you Google them, there ain't a bad review out there on us. One time I had a man say it didn't bring no big bucks up. I don't really think that
well,
but it is what it is. But
that could be where you're hunting too, bud.
It could be, You
never know. Yeah.
But we had a lady come up, and we were in Birmingham, not this last year before. And she said, I want to talk to you guys. And I don't get emotional, but I'll tell you a story. And she takes kids that are critical illnesses, hunting in bad ways. And she said, I took a young man this past year hunting. And she goes, we use your dopey, Pat, because we know it works. And that right there, I was like, oh, okay, well, man, that sounds great. And then she started telling about this young man. And she goes, he's got this disease. He's 12. We took him, and his skin comes off. And it's come off since he was a baby. They dried him off with a bath towel after a bath, and his skin started coming off. And we're like, what are you talking about? His whole body now is wrapped. And she said, so we took him. He wanted to be like his brothers. And we took him this past year. And it was deer and rut. And they know they got deer out there. It's not a high fence, but they know there's deer. They're in a good place to hunt. And she goes, and we go down and we hang it out down the field a little ways. And we had to rig up. He can't pull the trigger because the skin will come off his fingers. And they have like a coat hanger, and he has to use his arms. And now,
bless his heart.
3 of us are in tears already. Now I'm sitting there listening to this thing, and she said,
yeah,
he killed his buck. And she goes, I think that's the last time he's ever going to get to hunt. But I want to thank you guys for what you put out. And I was like, my gosh, it just, I think we gave her like 5 drifters there right there to give to the other kids and all that. And she goes, I use the same thing. She goes, my husband's sick too. And I put it out for him too. She's a big deer hunter. And she goes, because I know they're going to come out and they're going to get a shot. That's how strong that dope is. And when you, it's amazing. You know, if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever had a boat run from, or trot from 70 yards downwind of you towards you and stand under your tree. And that's how strong it is sometimes. And, once again, it don't always happen, but we've seen it happen a lot. And, but she told that story, but and there wasn't a dry eye in our booth. And I think the guys in the booth next to us were teared up too. Everybody was gathered around. And so we do a lot with, with veteran groups, we do a lot, I talked to some track chair companies trying to hook them up with guys we're hooked up with to get these kids, that need track chairs and Beards for Benefits is a turkey hunting group down here. And they do a lot of, handicapped kids, and we give them all stuff. I was on the phone with him today. And so really that's almost become the best part. Yeah, I'd love to make $1 million. We ain't got there yet, but we're changing the way the experience people have when they hunt.
That's right. And
I'd rather do that any day than sit around and try to go to a saddle hunt show and convince one of them boys my stuff's better than him just not doing nothing. That's you always want to have people like that. And Jensen, I forgive you for being on that. No, I'm playing. You'll eventually you'll get on this now we're done here. You'll give it a shot. I know you will. And then you're going to call me. I tell people, I said, there's 2 times when I'm selling, we have fun. I said, look, you take this and you're going to call me twice. Now they look at you like, what? I said, you're going to call me twice. I said, you're going to call me the first time and you say that nanny and them 2 does was right under my tree. And she was looking right at me and she couldn't smell me. She couldn't pick me up. I said, that's one. The second one's going to be, you finally going to trust my dopey. And you're going to say, he ran from across the field downwind. It's good. And we got so many videos of guys doing that. And so we have fun at the shows. And I always tell them, I said, who owns Code Blue? And they're like, I don't know. I said, well, who owns Teams? I don't know. I said, well, what's my name? They said, Scott. I said, well, I own KillDrift. You know me now. You got my cell number. And my cell number is on my card. And I said, you call me. So every customer deals with us has my cell phone number. We ain't hiding from nobody. This is
right.
This is different. And I said, if you got a complaint, call me. And I've had one guy have a complaint, but in the end, he couldn't tell me which way the wind was blowing. And I think he was eating little David. I don't know what he was doing. I was trying to help him hunt. He didn't really know how to hunt. So sometimes we actually go through what their field looks like. So we don't just sell deer, Pete. We're kind of consulting sometimes, and I'm not the best deer hunter, but I know what I'm doing. I just might not work as hard as, Tyler, you and Jansen do because I'm getting older, but I try to work smarter, not harder. And so most of our calls, it's something to be, not Don will be like, how you on the phone with us? I'm this man from Atlanta. His boy killed a deer today. Dad just wants to call and talk to me about it. And
that's awesome.
And
that means a lot.
That's why we're in business. And I think that's why the Lord put us this way. Because we used to be called Thermodrift. Now, I don't know how y'all go to church. I don't know what your background is, what you believe in, not. Thermodrift. That's the most boring name I ever heard in my life. We were copying Thermocell. We had just started out. We had blue bags, everything. 3 o'clock in the morning, the name KillDrift popped in my head. I'd never heard that word in my life. I rolled over with Donna, wake up. She said, what? I said, KillDrift. She goes, what you talking about? I said, that's the new name of the company, KillDrift. She's like, go back to bed. Leave me alone. And the next morning at 6 o'clock, I called Scott, my partner. I said, hey, I just changed the name of the company to KillDrift. He's like, what? I said, KillDrift. I'll tell you, God spoke to me. It's KillDrift. He said, that don't even sound right. And now it just rolls off your tongue like normal. KillDrift. We so used to say. Right. And we're the first ones ever put the word kill. I would have named it murder if I could, because we like to kill deer. And we don't mind knocking does down and everything because we eat them all. We eat a lot, about 5 or 6 a year. And so we have fun with that we're the first one in the industry to actually use the word kill. I don't think there is another. I ain't seen another company to show or on it says kill. And
I never thought about it until you say that.
It is. I know.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think. Yeah.
I don't think they have, but we haven't had no PETA groups or nobody get onto us yet. But we generally kill what we're out there looking for.
If they do, don't back down.
And we like to we like to have happy customers, and we want to be successful. And if that's all we ever do, then we've done enough.
That's right.
And that's what's. And I've made so many friends. My daughter was talking to me about her friends the other day, and she was talking about my friends and said, I only had one friend here. And I said, well, baby, I'm this old. I said, I got like 8 friends. I got one in Kentucky. I got one in West Virginia. I'm out in Illinois. I'm going to Paducah next week. I got more friends now. And we ain't giving them nothing. You meet good folks when you at these shows. folks like y'all that like to hunt. We got the same things in common. We just spread out a little bit. And so that's why I went to Bloomington, Illinois 2 weeks ago. I just got back, about an 8-day trip. They're just like we are. I thought everybody in Illinois killed big bucks. Most of them don't. They just like us. They got the same questions.
Really?
Not everybody, you would think everybody up there. Of course, during rut, I have seen a lot of middle-aged women kill big 150s during rut because they just standing there. But when I go up there, you only have one buck permit. If you, especially you bow, you got one buck, and you can buy extra does. So you let a lot of them go by because you keep thinking the bigger one's coming before you know it's time to pack up and go home.
Right.
But still had a good time. But yeah, we've had a good time in this business here.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think
I just-
sometimes go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think sometimes out west, some people, I duck hunt in Arkansas, and, I had some buddies at one time that thought when you cross the Arkansas line, ducks are just hitting your windshield. They're everywhere just because you're in Arkansas.
Right.
But the thing is, hunting videos on YouTube is just like social media. You see the highlights of what people do, and there's no doubt out west and up north, they kill 200-inch bucks, and we don't down here in the Southeast. That's just how it is. But a lot of the times, I do think when we see just the highlights of all the 200-inch deer, the 180 class deer that everybody's killing out west, up north, that's what we think. That's never been. That's what you can't help but think sometimes. Well, dang, they're just overabundance of monsters up there. But when you really get down to it, like you just said, the real life up there is 130s to 150s. You can catch a 160 every now and then. Every now and then, if the stars align, you can see a 180 or a 200-inch deer. It's not every day that they're just running by you like crazy.
No, it's not.
There's an aggravating delay on my end.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say, Scott, we're coming close to the end of our time here, but I want to give you the opportunity, and I want to know for myself, the drifter. You called it the drifter.
Yeah,
that is your battery powered device. I don't want to call it a thermocell, but it's battery powered. Yeah, I can't do that. But it's battery powered. Where can people find those?
You're breaking up just a little bit, but I think you said where can they find them? Well, you can go to our website and you can order off the website. And I tell folks, if you do that, you got to pay freight, and then if you want to pay $15 to have something shipped to you, you go to your local dealer, except for Fletcher's in Andalusia. I hope he hears this because he ain't got them. But
well, that's why I was asking. I didn't see it there.
Well, I've been there a couple times. He's never there. I don't know who's running the store. It's a nice little store. I believe you got one other store up there too, if I'm not mistaken, don't you? Is there another hunting store up there I'd heard about?
There used to be. I don't think it's open anymore.
Well, around y'all's area, there's probably not a lot. I mean, you get like I'm in Ponce de Leon, we're in Pensacola, we're in, it's kind of spread out. We're in Sampson, Geneva, but Andalusia, no. But if they go to the store locator, you can see all the dots. It looks like we're mainly in the Southeast, and we're probably 140 stores in the Southeast. And this year, like I said, I went to Richmond. That was the first time going up there, and we picked up. And I have a rep group now. We actually got picked up this last year by Garlow Associates, and that's kind of nice when somebody thinks you got a good enough product, they want to sell it for you, and they've got 8 or 9 other products they're selling. So we picked up, I think, 6 or 7 in Virginia. And then when I went to Bloomington, I picked up a few more in Kentucky. And then I picked up 3 in Illinois. So we're slowly getting out of the Southeast, because we didn't have a rep group for long. It was me driving around just talking about deer hunting and stuff like that. And it is a product where when a dealer gets it, he's got to sell it. He's got to either use it or have somebody in his store use it, or at least tell people about it, because it is new, and we're not going to do the TV thing again. That was probably not a good decision. A lot of wasted money there. You learn lessons in this business. We try to have a decent presence on social media. But I think once again, most of it is grassroots. When somebody uses it, and they can't wait to tell their buddy. Man, they might not tell everybody because they like to have it as a secret, but they'll tell their buddy, and then word gets out, and it starts selling. And generally, a guy that uses a drifter will buy on average 5 to 6 bags. See, one bag lasts a weekend. You got 5 pads in a bag. So, and these aren't the new bags, but they got resealable tops to them. So there's 5 pads in there. So generally, if a guy's hunting, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday, that's what that thing that runs you around $13.50 or $14, depending on what you get. And the drifter, I mean, my gosh, this thing is electronic with the battery for $68.99. That is so affordable, and we want to keep it that way. It's all American made too. This is made in my backyard. The plastic's not made. It's made in Minnesota, but it's shipped here. We assemble everything except for the batteries. Our buddies over in China have to give us these because we don't make these in the States. But everything else, all components, everything we get from here in California, and stickers, Americus Georgia, pads on the back. I mean, we're local. And then we've got out in the shop, me and my wife, my partner, my sister comes over. I got like 6 football players to help out. I mean, it's a community kind of project in a 24x48 shop. And that shop's getting smaller and smaller the busier we get. So I guess that's a good thing. But everybody in the community, it's a good place for the youngins to work and make some gas money, and they're all deer hunters, and they, where else would you want to work when you're a kid if you deer hunt than at a deer hunting place?
That's right.
We got some, we shoot bows in the back of the shop there. We got archery stuff out there. It's just kind of a friendly place to hang out, whether you want to work or shoot or whatever you want to do. But we have a good time. But yeah, buy them from the dealer if you can. I tell folks, support your local dealers. And hopefully we'll be getting them more and more. It's just going to, take a little bit of time, probably a couple of years. But
I was at Fletcher's.
Yeah.
I was at Fletcher's today, and I see your, the little area they have set up for the KillDrift stuff there. And I was wondering about the drifter. And I was assuming this whole time, since I wasn't seeing it there, that it was such a new product that it hasn't hit the shelves yet. So I'm gonna call and ask what the holdup is tomorrow.
Well, the bags you see are older bags from Fletcher's, probably 2 years ago. They're just leaving it out there because they didn't push it. They didn't sell it, so they probably got some left over. And so I'm not sure. I mean, there's about a 3-year shelf span on that thing. If it's an older black-looking bag, I probably wouldn't get it. I hate that do that for show, and I'll be glad to credit him for what he's got. And that's why I do dealers that helped us in the beginning, because what happened is, I know we got to get off this thing, is when we were going pretty hot and heavy in all the stores and Thermacell came out and took legal action, they didn't sue me, but they threatened us really hard. And we said, hey, yeah, we'll do whatever. But we couldn't advertise anymore. So a lot of stuff that was in the shops, you never saw anything on social media because you couldn't show a picture using our pad and a Thermacell. So it took us about 1.5 years to get this thing out, get it patented, figure out how to build it. And it's durable as heck. I mean, it is solid. You can throw this sucker, as long as you don't throw it in the lake, you can throw it. So now we're back to advertise. We're back to all that. And folks like Fletcher, when I run across them, I credit him for his old bags. Let's get the new stuff in there. Let's get the drifter in there, the batteries, and sell the whole deal. And hopefully you can get him on board. I'd love to be in there. It's a nice little shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll call tomorrow.
Well, we're 100% behind you, and we'll do all we can to help promote the product.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll be waiting for that phone call, Jansen.
I was about to say, if I kill one this year, you'll get a phone call, and I'll post the picture with the KillDrift in front of the deer. You can hold me to that.
Okay. One other thing, this year we started getting guys out in the Midwest, wanting to pro staff for us and stuff. So they're starting to see it. It's not so much deer you kill; it's when a deer looks at you and has no idea you're standing there. He sees you, but he can't pick you up, and he's trying his hardest. And he's circling you and the buck trying to win you, and they can't do it. And that's what it's about, man. It's fun to watch.
That's right.
I look forward to that call.
Scott, I appreciate you being on with us and talking KillDrift with us. And is there anything else that you'd like to add before we end it?
No, I know you work with my daughter. Just give her a hard time. Make sure she's doing her job. Thank you guys for having me on here. I appreciate it. And if you need anything, you can holler, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good one.
All right. Take care.